Shalom, all praises, blessings, glories, and honors to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to my Ella apostles and bishop elders of Great Millstone, who have taught me this truth, as well of men of like mind. Shalom wa chasad, which means peace and mercy, to the elect of the nation of Israel, whom are you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and Israelite foreigners of the seed of our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whom are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great, and abroad. To you I say Shalom, and Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Ratazah. This lesson is edifying and informative. In the news from the Sputnik, U.S. fueling breakdown of France, Germany, while capitalizing on weak Europe. This will certainly and obviously further increase Europe's hatred for the whore, as it is written here in the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, the 16th verse. And the 10 horns represents the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, which represents NATO. Collectively, the beast represents the pagan Roman Empire, which came back in the form of NATO and the EU, and America being an extension of that empire. For America is the whore that rides upon the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. These shall hate the whore, and the whore again is America, Babylon the Great, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. And how will that happen? By them shooting nuclear missiles over here into America, Babylon the Great, thus burning her with fire. And this is all a part of biblical prophecy. And it had been previously said by a German high official that America is, in fact, capitalizing on the current situation in Europe between Russia and the Ukraine, which, by the way, that is nothing more than a proxy war between Russia and the U.S. The actions of the United States have fueled division between France and Germany, both of which are in the throes of domestic turmoil, with their leaders no longer representing the will of their own population. Elijah Magnier, a veteran war correspondent, underscored. Washington is purposely recarving the power dynamics on the European continent, and capitalizing on a weak France and weak Germany. Elijah Magnier told Sputnik, the U.S. has taken advantage of an overall weakened continent, the veteran war correspondent said. All this is taking place against the backdrop of the ongoing U.S.-led proxy war against Russia in Ukraine, the fallout from which has helped the administration in Washington to further exploit the inner turmoil eating away at France and Germany, he stated. Right, and this is one of the many reasons why America's allies, including France and Germany, will hate her according to biblical prophecy. And the French president had stated a few months ago that France will not be a vassal for the U.S. In simple words. So these European nations are showing that they're getting tired of America, Babylon the Great. And though they may not explicitly say so on the news, make no mistake, there's a lot of internal implosions happening. Pardon me. It says the U.S. is luring over European industry with cheaper energy. In fact, it's actually the opposite, as Europe has been paying a lot more for energy because they've been buying it from the U.S. and Britain, who had stood to benefit from the destruction of the Nord Stream pipelines between Russia and Germany. Okay? Lower taxes, creating a division between France and Germany. And on top of that, the Americans are shifting the center of Europe from Western Europe to Eastern Europe because Western Europe is too much of a headache, Elijah Magnier stated. While in France, today you have Macron. Tomorrow you will have Marine Le Pen. In Germany, Scholz is standing in support of the U.S. interests, no longer supporting the German population and their needs, underscored the veteran war correspondent. France's President Emmanuel Macron and Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz are no longer leaders even in their own countries, he pointed out. While there has always been rivalry between France and Germany, Magnier reflected, since the Ukraine crisis escalated in early 2022, the self-harming Western sanctions have exacerbated the energy crisis, right? So the two European countries could not put up a united front against the U.S. because it's divide and conquer. And now they're seeing that, if they haven't already, because these Edomites are not stupid, and they're always constantly fighting against one another. And as it is written, a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. So a lot of stuff is happening behind closed doors that they're not speaking about on the news. France has been in the grips of its domestic woes, facing sweeping protests over Emmanuel Macron's deeply unpopular pension reform, raising the retirement age. In Germany, the three-party governing coalition of the Social Democrats, SPD, Environmentalist Greens, and Free Democratic Party, PDP, has been wrangling over a slew of issues. Then the two countries began bickering over energy and defense matters. Yet they keep sending billions in military aid to Ukraine when they themselves are suffering, and sanctioning Russia further, which is only hurting themselves even more. So, with this reasoning, what do you think is going to happen eventually? It's written right here in Revelation chapter 17, verse 16, which again it reads, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore." So that's what's going to happen eventually. Also referred to Daniel's, what is that, the 2nd chapter? Referred to Obadiah 1, and I believe the 6th verse. All the men of thy confederacy have deceived thee, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Okay, it says, accordingly, France and Germany failed to put up a united front and prevent the U.S. from adopting the Inflation Reduction Act, IRA. And this is something that was also a big concern for them as well. Signed into law by U.S. President Joe Biden in August 2022, the IRA offers tax credits for electric cars made in North America and prioritizes U.S. battery supply chains, promises large subsidies, incentivizing European producers to transfer their businesses to the United States. So the U.S. is basically trying to suck Europe more dry than it already is. All this was pushed through in defiance of complaints by EU member states that the IRA could create new trade barriers for European goods. Now, Germany has slid into a technical recession this winter. As per the ING Group's analysis, the European industrial powerhouse facing losses of competitiveness and deindustrialization. And still, Washington is pressing Berlin to dole out more on NATO's proxy war in Ukraine, despite press reports that the German military is facing financial shortages and urgently needs modernization. Another glaring sign of weakness was Germany accepting for the U.S. to sabotage the mainstream gas pipeline between Russia and Europe. What's to benefit from that? Cubono, think about it. Elijah Magnier said, Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Seymour Hershel had detailed in February how the Biden administration put in place a plot to destroy Russia's Nord Stream pipeline network. The blast occurred on September the 26th at 3 of the 4 strings of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 underwater pipelines, which were built to carry a combined 110 billion cubic meters of Russian gas to Europe annually. According to Hirsch, the plan was carried out by U.S. operatives in coordination and collaboration with the Norwegian Secret Service and Navy. Thus, the report indicated that Germany's NATO allies attacked the nation's critical infrastructure, which is yet another bitter pill that Berlin has been forced to swallow. And they know this. All that is happening shows how weak the European Union is, how weak France has become, and how weak Germany has become. Magnier said. This concludes the article, which I will now end this lesson, Abaratazah, with Obadiah 1, verse 7. That's what I actually meant to quote earlier, not 6. But nonetheless, the Spirit had me quote it, so I'll read it. How are the things of Esau searched out? Obadiah chapter 1, verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out? Luke 12 and 2. For there is nothing covered that should not be revealed, neither hid that should not be known. How are his hidden things sought up? Isaiah 47. Okay. The Lord has been exposing America, Babylon the Great, through the mouth of his prophets. Whom today are the elder apostles, bishop elders, elder brothers, on down to the young men and men of like mind of great millstone that are scattered here in America, which is Babylon the Great and abroad. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. In other translations it says, betray thee. All these different agreements and pacts and bargains that they've made, eventually they'll all turn against America, Babylon the Great, and prevail against thee. They that eat thy bread through traffic, trade, have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Why? Because he's proud. He's more stout. These American Edomites, they're more stout than their fellows, man. Extremely proud. And the Lord is going to bring that hubris to naught. So with that, I conclude this lesson. Abaratazah has been edifying to the elect. And until the next, Lord's when I say shalom.